I'll have you guys know. I came to Katie's house and she didn't have a Coke.
I did have Coke.
And I was like, oh, I'll pretend it's okay because I'm a guest, but it wasn't okay. And then she found Coke that she normally keeps for Gina, which is not as thoughtful as you getting me Coke. But
I offer... Son of a bitch. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unresolved Textual Tension. Today, it is I, Katie, and I am here with my ruggedly handsome co-host, William. William.
Hey, guys, and I'm here in the flesh. I decided to come visit Katie because Maria isn't around. And today, we're going to be doing something a little different. We did not read a book. Instead, we read each other's writing. And...
Sorry.
And yeah, so what we did is we critiqued beforehand, like school class assignment style.
Not really. I did not put that much effort into it.
I did. I didn't put a lot of comments, but I mostly noted the things
Oh yeah, no. But I also would have made commentary on your document.
If you were going to publish this, I would have hardcore edited it and stuff. But today we just wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
Give you guys a sneak peek of our writing. If you are in our book club, we actually released the writing so that you guys could see it beforehand. Because we're not going to do what we did with The Savior's Champion, where we just ran through it, sentence by sentence, and we're horrified at each new turn. We did the critiques beforehand, and we're going to run through some of the comments. So the story may be a little disjointed for those of you who aren't part of our book club. But Katie, how can people become part of our book club?
Well, first you have to sacrifice your first child. Then you must drink its blood. And finally, you must...
And you were worried about me getting canceled.
That's nothing.
Or you could join our Patreon. Doesn't joining our Patreon now seem like a better option? You can support independent journalism. And actually, today, we are announcing a new old tier. So right now we have our Parasocial Darlings tier, which is one above our book club tier, and you get to have your name in the credits. And we are actually going to be offering something new to that tier. Once a month, me and Katie are going to sit down and we're going to critique a chapter. So we're canceling the tier. But yeah, we're going to once a month or maybe twice, we'll see, go through and critique a chapter like we did for The Savior's Champion. I want to do some books that are actually good and kind of in between, because I think it's always valuable to look at good writing and see how it achieves
what
things.
Is it good. Yeah, what is it good? Why is it good?
Guys, English isn't our first
What
language.
makes it good?
Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Okay, so you can see we have two. We have mine. Actually, guys, in the chat, do you want to start with mine or do you want to start with the not as good one? See what I did there?
Not funny though.
I mean, it's a little funny.
You son of a bitch! I didn't put any grammar shit in yours.
I couldn't stop myself going through this.
Never mind. I did put grammar shit.
They can't see it yet. So
I did put grammar shit in yours, so it's fine. But I only did it in one section. It's because I figured because it's everywhere in yours.
Guys, you have no idea how many tabs she has open. She's one of those.
No, I'm actually not. But
you actually are.
There's a lot of movies I want to watch, and I also found a lot of things on Target that I want to look at again when I'm buying an actual house.
That's how you know you were in our 30s.
So Grammarly is not supposed to, because, okay, so I've had two people ask me about their writing, and they use Grammarly specifically to, pro writing aid only. It's not good for creative writing. It'll help you somewhat, but it will also replace things you probably shouldn't have replaced.
Yeah, Shame says Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid only aid you if you already know the rules, though PWA teaches you too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're going to run into that almost immediately, I think, when we go into mine, because Katie says that I don't use commas correctly.
You just don't use commas.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I am of a Hispanic persuasion.
No, this doesn't matter.
And we have a certain poetry in our soul and in la sangre.
This has nothing to do with it. He just didn't know how to use commas, and he hasn't used them yet. But I will tell you, there are several locations in his writing. There are several locations in your writing where it would help it so much.
Allow me to finish my point.
Fine.
My mother is Colombian, and there is a famous Colombian writer called Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who will often have an entire paragraph, page-long paragraph, that is one sentence, and it flows and it lilts and it moves back and forward and through time, and there's a pacing to it. And once you reach the end of it, it's almost like a bit of a cathartic experience. That's my writing. And Katie wants to ruin it with all these little like dot things.
No.
I'm so much funnier in person.
No, it's not. It's not that. Let me tell you, as a side note, everyone, I'm mentioning this so that way Will can't take it back.
Oh, God.
Will and I once wrote something together. We never finished it.
It was very good.
If you want to one day experience that and then have Will and I go over it together, what we can improve upon on both our writings
join
combined.
our book club, join the Parasocial Darlings tier, and we will think about releasing it to you guys. It was very good. It
is actually really, like, if we actually completed it, it's so publishable.
Here's the thing. I have, like, my strength as a writer is, like, readability almost, in terms of, like, I know how to get things to be very readable for people, and Katie has really beautiful descriptions and prose and similes.
Will knows how to move a plot along. Like, Will has good, great, amazing pacing. So what we would do is he would write essentially the basic narration, and then I would fill it in with fluff. And then he would do dialogue only, and I would do description.
Well, and then I would go back and edit to make your stuff a little bit more legible.
Shut the fuck up. No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
I know you did, but not like that. Shut up.
Well, no, because the way you write is really beautiful, but like I'm pretty good at editing too and making something just a little bit sharper.
Yes.
So no, one day we'll release that if you
and then I too also went back on our writing and edited our writing to make it sharper. So you know what? Two can play at that game, William.
All right.
William's being sexist. I can hear it. I can hear it in his little brain. A little joke is rattling around. That's why he's laughing so much.
So Chelsea says, so my husband kept me up late playing games last night and I overslept. Are they done with their critiques or just chatting? Oh, no, this is the banter. This is the banter session. This is the banter portion.
Yeah, no.
We're in person, so the chemistry is off the charts. All right, go ahead and go over to the chapter. So just very basically, the story is about like a World War I type setting where instead of tanks, they have like big mecha walkers. It's like Russian-y. And I wrote it 6 or 7 years ago, which is one of the reasons it's Russian, because that was before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which I now feel somewhat uncomfortable about continuing in the story because it's not in the same time period, but like there's a lot of social issues and that just seems like it would be thorny to navigate. But I don't know, because working on this story just a little bit to clean it up for this, like I started having all kinds of ideas for it. I've been really fascinated with a lot of the Russian kind of mindset that you see, and I've been learning about more. So I might revisit it. I might not. I might just make them all French. Who knows? French people have some cool names.
Why? That loses the entire ambiance.
By the way, the greatest compliment I got is 2 people said this gave them George R. Martin vibes, and I was like,
no, that's not the one that gave you also.
Oh, we gotta show Serious Shenanigans cover art that he made for me, which is gorgeous.
Oh yeah, that's adorable. No, also he's pleased as punch that somebody related it to Warhammer.
Yes, and he said the writing was reminiscent of George R. Martin, which I'm very cool about.
Of course, you literally stroked William.
I didn't do it in front of you, so that is you don't know about that. If it is or not true, it's like Schrodinger's dick. Like, you know what I mean? You just don't know until dick in a box.
Anyway, back to my opinion on your writing. So,
Miss Allie Snow says, "Who knew commas ran into the spin?" That's so funny.
Anyway, no. Like, I mean, this is honestly like something I'd expect to see on a bookshelf. Like, as in, like, I'm in Barnes and Noble. I see the cover artwork that vaguely this guy.
Yeah, I forget what his name is. Something Eastern or Northern European. Yeah, that guy. This is actually hilariously not. He does a bunch of mechs in rural settings that are Eastern European, and it's very cool. He has a game called Iron Harvest. That was a RTS that I didn't play that looked like it.
Sheridan is obsessed with him as well.
Oh, I love his work so much. Though, funnily enough, that wasn't the work that inspired this. This was very specifically inspired by one picture that was a mech with some like people just hanging out on top of it.
Chicks?
They weren't chicks. They were guys.
Oh, were they?
Remember I showed you the picture yesterday?
No, I remember. I just thought they were chicks.
Yeah, and they were just hanging out there like and on the march, and I really liked that vibe of like, this is a cool like sci-fi walker, but war is all essentially just about trying to get something good to eat. Yeah. If you ever read The Sun Also Rises, which I have, it's mostly about like him trying to get food. So like I really wanted to have that vibe of like war is just a lot of walking and boringness, punctuated by violence. But yeah, sorry, what were your, go ahead with your
Yeah,
impressions.
William.
I was going to say, I'm
Okay.
talking a lot for you, you being the one
It really
who...
bothers me that it was out of focus. I'm just going to hold it as I talk. Okay, so.
Much better. Right, guys? Much better. Can we get some ones in chat? And anyone trying to snag a good pair of boots? Yeah, exactly. That kind of banality, I think, is a very interesting
Yeah, it is.
thing to focus on.
Wait, what?
Banality.
In general, like in writing?
Well, no, like especially in wartime, though.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah, and that's what I thought you were saying. Okay, yes.
One thing I didn't... Oh, it's a wolf. Yeah, it's a... In the picture, it's a werewolf. One thing I wasn't able to add in because I just was reading. I've been watching a lot of videos about tanks lately, and like World War I and World War II, and you really get a sense for like their metal boxes with an engine in them. Like the exhaust goes out incorrectly and can kill the entire crew. Changing gears was so hard they had a mallet in one of the Russian tanks. Like I kind of want to add more of that to the story of like the She-Wolf
Dysfunctional.
Well, it's such a simple technology. We think of like the robots as being like
It's
AK-47.
No, but it's more like literally gears and
yeah,
you know.
and more of that kind of a thing.
But anyway.
Valerie says, "I'm the white Karen in the comment section of Walmart going through a tantrum because I'm not grammarly oppressed like Will." The struggle is real. Microaggressions. Every time I read a comment, it's a microaggression. You finally do some talking.
Yeah, right. So, no, I could see this literally on a shelf, even with its lack of commas. It's because you see that shit all the time anyway. It already has, the thing is like your writing has, I guess substance. It has substance to it. So it feels like you put enough terminology, details, and you do it so in a way that it comes off as natural. I mean, this is generic until you point out what does it.
Yeah.
But it comes off.
We're doing an overview.
Yeah. So, but it comes off as literally this is a mostly realized world. The only reason I say mostly is because I haven't seen enough of it yet to really feel in it. But besides that, and so theoretically it is realized. I just haven't, like, if I were to read more of the world and see it more structured around, then maybe I would feel more enveloped by it. But no, I mean, William, what do you expect?
Thank you. Well, I could literally, like we did for the Savior's Champion, go through the story line by line and tell you what I think is wrong with it. But specifically, I chose the story because I think it has certain problems.
Yeah.
And like they're sort of just inherent to it, and I'm not sure how to fix some of them. So like one thing a couple people mentioned was that the main character, Sashenko, which is just an incredible name, I love that. He felt a little distant from them, and that's kind of what I was going for, but at the same time, I shouldn't have been because it makes it difficult. So in a story, so every time I do writing, I like to try to mix up the character a little bit and push myself to do something a little bit different and not just have a lot of like male characters who are basically me, but with different names and like better looking and more tragic backstories. So with Sashenko, I was trying to do something where he feels kind of disconnected and almost floaty when things aren't directly in front of him. He kind of disassociates. Is what I was trying to do, but it's a very difficult kind of thing to write and make compelling, and I don't think it really works throughout the whole piece.
It doesn't, but that's fine. It's a good start.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things I noted, and I think is one of the big problems going in. Some of the dialogue is also, I hate it, but it's like...
I'm curious which ones. Don't tell me. Can I try to guess? Yeah,
actually, let's go ahead and go through. Hold on. Oh, you should read some comments.
Yeah,
we need Mecha to feel more like pieces of junk. Yeah, like it's a box with legs. Like that's kind of the impression I wanted to get more.
There's one in particular. Oh, that's right, Sheridan. Even with no commas, that wouldn't give you pause. No, it would. I mean, I was being polite. But no,
All right.
No, I mean, the thing is what I meant. I mean, I wasn't being polite either. What I was trying to get to the point of is that I have seen books on the shelf that is lacking that level of structure and is still pretty decent.
You know what?
Maybe not structure, grammar,
I would say better than Lightlark.
I wouldn't know. I didn't read Lightlark.
Better than Cyborg Tinker? Would we agree with that?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Some hearts in chat.
Oh, sorry if anyone likes it, by the way.
Too late. You're too late into the video. You guys actually can't see the comments. So go ahead and go to here. I actually
go ahead.
Do it
go for it.
Hopefully not going to accidentally click on any of the pornography in Katie's computer,
They'd
guys.
Be so boring.
There's so much. It's like all like guys being emotional and like having feelings and crying.
No, it's literally
like him expressing their
feelings. Literally this. Oh, they can't see it.
Yeah, no.
It's anime. It's anime.
Tentacles, am I right, guys?
It's not that kind of anime.
Okay, so walk me through however you want to talk about this first.
Well, I kind of want to read it a little. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So just because I want to see if there's something else that pops up in my brain. So because it's the beginning, so I really want to read this part.
But rushing up the name a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
I can't do accents.
Sashenko.
That's not good.
Sashenko.
Now you're Italian.
Sashenko.
Now you're just doing a deeper voice.
All right, go ahead.
Sashenko lies along the main canyon. Already, I really like the picture of this. I already can picture it.
Thank you.
It's also very phallic. Of the she-wolf, which is especially phallic sounding. I love it.
It's a girl wolf.
Along the main canyon of the she.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
I mean, I'm only saying that to grind your gears. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Eyes closed to soak in the orange warmth of the morning sun. I don't like orange, but that's fine. We'll keep going. That's so petty. That is so petty of me. Sorry.
Go ahead.
It did stop me though the first time.
No. I mean, this is so. One thing I will say is that usually the way I like to take criticism is by not replying to it at all, because usually my first impression is, or my first reaction is, "Fuck you," and also because if you start arguing with people about their criticism, or you start trying to say like, "This is what I was trying to do," it sounds like arguing, and then the other person becomes inhibited in giving the.
All right.
We're gonna banter a lot, but please just say what you're gonna. What you're gonna say.
No, I just don't like it because warmth. I mean, like if we're being technical, why it doesn't work. Warmth isn't orange, but I get what you're saying. It's the orange sunrise, and it's the warmth from that sunrise.
I was thinking more like when you close your eyes, there's orange.
Man, that's even harder to connect. That is not the way
I don't know. Fair.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I think you would have to literally just anyway. That doesn't matter.
No, it's fine. And also, by the way, you don't always have to take someone's criticism and change it.
This is perfect, Lindbergh. I read Sashenko as emotional but compartmentalizing. Yeah, he seems like he has major PTSD.
That's what I was trying to get across.
Yeah, it came across. Very good. Cool. It comes across also because he's I think there's a really important choice that Will made. And at first I didn't know how I felt about it because I wasn't sure what the purpose of it was. And then upon thinking about really what the characters were doing and everything rather than just like reading, I was like, oh, I see why he probably did that. If he did that on purpose, if not, then even more so, he's naturally already plugged into it. But you did it on purpose. Is that he's not active. He's passive the entire time, and he's observing. And as he's observing, it's relating to things, and then he gets stressed out. Perfect.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to. Again, though, it's hard to write a character who is passive in that way.
It is.
But it's as a starting point. I think it's kind of important. You know the two characters he's inspired by?
No.
Two very specifically. Auron from Final Fantasy X, who I always thought had a crippled arm because he would wear his like that, but it isn't. That's just how Japanese samurai look sometimes. And then also Shikamaru from Naruto.
Did you say Naruto?
How are you?
Naruto.
Gomenmaisai.
That was.
Guys, I'm cutting this so I don't get canceled.
It doesn't matter.
I'm not a weeboo like you.
I literally went to Japan, so I have a one-up on you, so it's not fair. No, I remember I had a crush on him and read fan fiction about him from Final Fantasy.
Yeah, well, Auron, he's so cool.
Yeah.
He's the coolest. He's like, that game is like just him being weirdly cooler than the rest of the cast.
That's because, doesn't he have a beanie? I don't remember. What is he wearing? I don't remember what he's wearing.
Just great. He has the
gray hair,
and then the glass.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and he's just like being really cool while everybody else is being lame.
Big titty belt of girlfriend Lulu.
Oh, that's kind of maybe the fanfic I read of the two of them. But
wait, this is actually about the writing. He feels like an intermediary or meditating character more than passive. Yeah, exactly. His background, including some code switching, reinforced that. That was a nice catch. Did you do that on purpose, or does that just happen and that is actually what it is?
So there are some issues with the story in that I changed things as I went over the years because, again, this is like a 7-year-old story.
I forget
So sometimes things conflict and sometimes they don't. But yeah, the code switching was a little bit of what I was trying to do. Also, Valkyrie says Waka can eat shit, and yes, Lulu deserves so much better.
Okay, continue. I see what you mean now about the food.
Well, that's what I wanted to do with the first paragraph. We have, he lies along the main canyon of the she-wolf. So we get the mech, and then as below in the abandoned husk of a farmhouse,
he's looking for milk.
Curses over the teats of the cow.
Yeah. No,
that's kind of what I was trying to go with.
Yeah, no. I really like that. And I also thought, again, this is like a really weird scene to go into. I mean, how many books can you imagine, or stories, or whatever the heck that you've read? What have you read that reminds you of, or that also started with somebody trying to milk a cow and a mech?
Yeah, well, the teats of the cow I didn't love, but
I don't like the teats of the cow either. But it also, in a weird way, like in a way it works, but in a way it also sounds a little off for some reason.
Because you don't really talk about the teats of a cow.
Teats.
I might just do his Captain Curses as he tries to milk a cow, but that felt a little abstract. So
I like the teats of a cow better than that.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing I agonize guys over. One of the reasons that like I could literally like tell you thing by thing I don't like in this. But anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, and I do like this part. She's dry. Like I like that just the way you said it. She's dry.
Thanks.
Oh,
this is yeah.
Well, the only notice I never do this again. I never do this again. It was just except for I think in one spot.
What's the issue with the commas?
The pacing of the sentence. So for example, I actually had a really good example someplace. I wonder where it is. I wonder if
we
I'll
can
remember.
just wait till we come to it if you want.
Well,
and we can talk about it there.
Let me see if it is this. I'm not sure because there was a couple of places where I was like, yeah, Chelsea. Definitely opening with milking a cow gave a strong feeling of place in the boredom of war. Yes, love it. But anyway, let me read this real quick, though. Grunts wordlessly in answer, and a clang comes from the pail as he nudges it further under the cow. Truthfully, Sashenko does not blame his captain. Even here, away from the...
front, their rations are a little more than...
I know. Wait a second. This might be a good example, too, just right here.
Ooh.
Even here, away from the front of the rations, are little more than...
Drew says, I counted a 40-word sentence. Too many words. Not if you're Hispanic. Stop trying to colonialize my language.
Okay, I don't know if I can get this through in this one, but this might be a good intro if I can make it work here. So the difference between where if a comma had been added, I didn't even notate it, but here. So even here, so there's two different ways you can approach this, but you don't need commas here, which is why I didn't say anything.
Right, but you could put a comma there, so it's even here.
Away from the front of their rations.
Their rations.
Yeah, rations, sorry. Even here, away from the front of their rations are little more than mealy bread and stewed. Versus even here away from the front of their rations are little more than mealy bread. It doesn't matter. So that's why, of course, I didn't notate anything, but it changes the way it comes across.
Yeah, it changes the pace of it.
Yeah. Okay, a little more than mealy, dotted with hard beets, comma, thin stuff compared to the rich borscht his mother used to stir to life, comma.
Isn't that a good sentence?
And yeah.
Stir to life, I like that as a description.
Yes, it's very good.
Doesn't mean me paradoxically basking in my writing and then hating large parts of it. That's kind of my writing.
Agreed. I liked the opening story with the turn of the century foraging.
Thank you.
Compared to the rich borscht his mother used to live, its own gut is a fist clenched so hard he no longer notices it. What is this? Oh, it's under. I was like, wow, why did I do this? I think I highlighted this to point out how nice this was.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, that's why I highlighted that part. Back when the SARS war had been new, the feeling... Yeah, so prepositional phrase. It's important, honestly, in this one. Back then, the SARS war had been new. The feeling had kept him up late in the night. Or late. See how... Okay, here, this is a good example. Back when the SARS war had been new, the feeling had kept him up late into the night, tossing and turning on the hard ground, but it has been years since he was that green boy. Again, it's not like the worst, but then you say...
But it would be more understandable.
It would feel more emotional. It would be feel more emotional. Back when the SARS war had been new,
comma,
the feeling had kept him up late into the night, tossing and turning on the hard ground. Pause. But it has been years since he was that green boy.
Should be period, but it had been years since he was that green boy, or semicolon? Okay, I love semicolons.
And then let's see, semicolon. You could also just delete the but at that point.
It's been years since he was that green boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, it's like so infinitesimal to change. So that's why, like, when I read some people's writing, I don't even point out this stuff because I'm like, that's almost a preference in some ways.
It's good to know, though. It's good to have command of both. And again, I tend to misuse commas because I just don't really understand them.
Do you want me to just give you a little baby rundown? Because I literally do it every day of my life with the kids.
Not right now, but yes.
No, obviously not. No, not right now.
At some point, yes, actually.
No, there's an easy go-to to figure out if you... One, can use it, and two, that if you want to use it.
As long as you don't have to say prepositional phrase at any point in there, or comma
fanboys. Do you know what comma fanboys is?
No. If you say sentence fragment or comma splice, then
I won't say any of that. I won't say any of that. But what you should know is what fanboys stands for. Like in general, all writers should know what comma fanboy stand for. Everyone in the chat, if you know what comma fanboys stands for, raise your hand. If you don't, all of you are going to receive my condemnation. I have to say I really struggled with the present tense. And I did too at first, but then it worked itself. I think if the commas if there were commas inserted and some other punctuation to help it pace itself, I think it would work. Time for me to be burned at the stake. I actually don't, but I love you anyway. I don't know what a comma system sucks, asshole.
It does. And I was homeschooled is the funny part.
Judo I love you.
Uh,
And so you're just forgetting and
for
so
and nor, but
or yet so. In order to connect two, I'm just small interlude. In order to connect two independent clauses, you must have a comma fanboys, a semicolon, or various other things. No, Europe probably wouldn't know it. It's like I'm pretty sure it's an acronym that like American teachers use specifically. It's because I've met other students from other states that have learned it, but
other people should follow our example though. In America,
shut the fuck up.
The apprentice has become the master.
No, not
Britain
even.
is no longer the
No. America's hot garbage. Anyway,
Lindbergh, by the way, I really liked that idea.
Which one?
Oh, it was up there. It was.
I'm little
disappointed you did not include commentary of alcohol being used to keep soldiers docile, like the alcohol rations. That is a wonderful little world building detail. I would definitely be adding to the part where they go. All the soldiers are already like half drunk.
It's an acronym. Fanboy stands for and nor, but or yet so. And the comma always has to go before it if you're utilizing it to connect two independent clauses, aka two complete sentences, so you don't have a run-on sentence. Doesn't matter. We're moving on. A trio figures in drab uniforms. Oh, I liked this.
Thank you.
See, happy face. Wait, let me read this. Sashenko prize and eye open. Already prize is great. Look, this is a great example though of verb meaning, like picking and choosing what verb you want to use. Really already inferences the mood of what's happening. He's prying it open. He doesn't want to open his eye. It's really difficult. It already starts telling you about how exhausted he is. So those little details are really helpful. We drilled that, but in German. Yeah. A trio of figures in drab uniforms trudge along. Okay, so everyone, this right here is my like favorite line in the entire thing.
Mud sucking at their boots.
That is perfect. It's perfect. Wow, that was a lot.
That's a weird combination.
Anyway, the sound of the mud, I can hear it at the word sucking. Haversacks hitched. Okay, so William apparently has a love for alliteration that the mud line is super evocative, Sheridan says. It is. Yeah, Haversacks hitched. If you do too much of this, it becomes too whimsical, but Will happened to be able to do it in I highlighted several of them that he did, but it's really nice. It's because it can create this sound almost in a way.
Well, and the other thing is it can be used to emphasize certain points.
Yeah.
I'm not using that here, but at times if you want to get if you want to emphasize a certain point, then that's a good place to put it versus other times.
Yeah.
Which is something I try to do. Lindbergh says, I love the mud because mud is World War I in my mind, so it really painted the picture.
Yeah,
so
nice.
In World War I, and actually a really weird thing that would happen on the Western Front is the mud would get so bad that they would have to put boards to cross it. But if you got too far or one of the boards sank, the men would actually be grabbed by the mud.
Yeah.
And they could not save them. So they would be like, they would be left there as other men had to march past.
Yeah.
And they would just dehydrate and die. Yeah, Serdian says Rasputitsa. Sorry guys, I can't actually see that far. Still influencing wars today? Yes. I did not know that was the specific word for it, but yeah, mud is such a problem in the kind of Eastern European theater there.
And then let's see.
The sun's lazy warmth fled.
I think that's I think I highlighted this because I liked the transition because now it's going from shivers, the relaxation of the moment is gone.
Okay.
And then it's stiff. And then we get into pain.
So how did that transition work? Because this is where it's first introduced that his arm is weird. And I wasn't sure if it came across too sudden or not.
No, it didn't.
Okay.
At least as far as as I was reading, raw reaction, no issue. A shiver runs along his spine, sits up, his left arm is stiff, hundreds of needles, plunged a bucket. He grits his teeth, reaches over to massage the reed. No, it's fine. It works. Okay, cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
I like this line. Try and behave this time, he says to Demia.
I know. That right there instantly characterized Demian for me. That, him cursing and trying to milk the cow for food, his focus is on food.
Uh-huh.
He apparently, and then later on you characterize him as a bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it already came across. So once you introduced that, it made sense.
Okay.
So
right, yeah.
I really think you characterize him really, it's actually quite, I think, impressive that you were able to characterize someone who had no screen time.
Yeah. I wanted him to be almost a little bit funny in how little he talks. like almost a bit of that stereotype of Eastern European men who are just like they drink and they don't talk a lot and
Yeah.
right. And I just thought that would be kind of like
No, it came
thing.
across. It was good. Let's keep going. What's this? Why did I say this?
And so I could have cut.
He grits his teeth and reaches over to massage the renut bones and pink, twisting scars.
Twisting scars. Like it's different.
You don't want to do the renut bones and pink and twisting scars. I mean, there's a usage for that, but that's not
so
here.
I do tend to, at times when I want to emphasize things, say
and
something.
No, you do that.
Something. But
no, that's right.
Here, I don't think it. Yeah, it's not emphasizing really anything.
Yeah. By the way, Pearl says that definitely came across with Damien, and I loved it. Me too. He's my favorite character so far, even though he has the least screen time. He is.
Thanks. He still remembers his first sight of any walker. Okay, so this section, some people in the
this is actually beautiful. This one.
Yeah, because it's like the trolls, and
that
I was like, shit,
their clubs.
That's not a Russian thing. I think that's
no, it's not. Well, it could
it's more
be
of like a Finland.
Well,
thing,
you know what I would do is I'd just replace this with a different creature.
No, but that's what I thought of in my head. Okay, so this portion right here.
Yeah, Miss Ellie Snow. I don't like present tense, which is a
I actually don't love it either. It's just what I write in. I learned it really early on, and then I just never.
I can't write in present tense. I end up accidentally reverting back to past tense.
I understand people who don't like it, but it's also just a thing I do. So there's two sentences. One where he describes what the she-wolf looks like, which is the walker, and one where he remembers his mother and seeing it for the first time. And this one where he describes the she-wolf should be cut because it's not really giving any super new information. And it's slowing. There's an info dumping problem here. Whereas this one with his mother is better because it tells you something. And then this line right here is really important. That he's not afraid of it, and he thought what it would be like looking down from it instead of up.
Yes,
which is very important to his characterization, though it's a subtle line. So basically, yeah, this one should just be cut. You just don't really need to know what she looks like.
Not yet. Honestly,
or really ever. It's just like it's a tank. You know what I mean?
No, I think it's important. I mean, look, you could get away with not doing it, but I think you should.
Okay,
it's important to the identity of your story.
That's true, and I like the idea of her as like almost a character in her own right.
Yes, no, you should give her a description, but you know what you should do is you should probably do it through Sashenko's eyes when the girls are looking at it.
Well, that's what's happening here, but later.
But that's what I mean, though. Same thing. But different location.
Yeah, because at this point, it's like, there's a lot of info dumping all at once.
Let's see. Also, as a side note, Pearl said something that I was actually going to bring up anyway. One of the other stories that I thought about giving Will for us to do instead, but then I was like, this other one has more problems than I like. I want to actually build all of that with Will. Using a PTSD reaction / being caught in a memory is a great usage of present tense when you usually use past tense in the story. It's an indication that it is a memory, number one, without even italics or anything like that, which some people
that is
rely on.
Interesting.
Yeah, but the present tense, first of all, people will notice the change. Mm-hmm. So, for example, in one of this, the Hispanic woman story, funnily enough, there's this one point where she's like, she sat at the table, da-da-da-da. Lorena thinks she can do this and this and this and this, and then it goes into present tense, and then you realize you're caught in a memory because obviously, first, the past tense to the present tense is a change in structure, so it automatically indicates to the reader that something's different. But then also, once you start talking about things that are obviously not happening currently, then you realize it's something
one of my
else.
Favorite tricks that I pulled in one. I remember the robot story. So one thing I did is that whole story is in past tense, and then the last couple paragraphs are switched to present, and you realize they were sending this message to somebody in present tense.
There you go.
And you're like, I love when you can go like past, and then, oh shit, it's now.
That's how tools like that can matter to the way your literal story is going on. But anyway, okay. So, hag houses, another example of alliteration.
Thank you. I like that idea too, that it's, okay, so there's this thing people say, when people are like, somebody will write a Middle Eastern book and they're like, oh, it's like 1,001 Nights. And somebody once pointed out like, oh, the one cultural touchstone that people know from that era. And so I kind of felt like the whole Baba Yaga thing is like one Russian myth Westerners know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's
John
a
Wick
chicken walker.
now. John Wick now is a big thing.
But like chicken walkers that's what they my uncles used to call the AT-AT or the ATSTs in Star Wars, was chicken walkers. And I was like, it's a chicken house.
I think hag houses is really good. Will already knows this, but I think Baba Yaga, at least so early on, is a little it's fine. But it feels like it's too in your face.
There's somebody pointed out that this sounds like a lot of expositing.
Wait, unhighlight.
Where they have this conversation and then they talk about this is the part here where they're like, I don't know if they can kill the hussars or whatever. Yeah, this actually does. I wasn't actually trying to info dump is the funny part. I just knew that they needed to have a conversation to try to get across their
I think
characters.
It's not the most natural, but it's not bad either.
It's okay. This part with the chicken legs, that needs to be moved and it needs to be changed. Right now, it's Inna who's asking like, why do they call them that? No, it needs to be Tanya who in a moment is like kind of opening up and being like, I don't know why they call that. And then Miriam shuts her down. And then it does the she chicken thing to kind of try to play nice between the two of them. So
okay. Great critical thinking as an author.
Thank you. But you want to reinforce that it gets across, and it's also kind of funny that she both thinks it should be called the she chicken.
So I was about to tell Will this, but then I came back to it and I was like, nah, it doesn't really matter. Because it would make sense that Shashenko would notice it. But when he starts describing the girls coming up and one of them is like, oh, this one's Jewish and this one's whatever.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's fine. But then it also already comes across when Miriam Koifman, sir.
That's like the most Jewish name.
Yeah, I know. I could tell.
By the way, you can tell that one of the rewrites I did of this was after we read Spinning Silver. Because I was like, oh, Miriam.
Yeah, that's cute.
Callback.
And you can see I had literally no problem.
Okay, well, hold on. Go up.
Yes.
What did you think of the part with the cigarette?
Which part? Let me see.
Where is it? Just scroll up a little bit. It's in the middle of the page now. Sashenko fishes a cigarette from the pocket of his coat. And he's forward. So does that... So I get what it means, but it feels a little bit like there's a little too much silence in the relation between the two. Like, does the emotion of what's coming across happen? Because he doesn't really think about it. So I'm not sure that the reader knows how to react to it.
What do you mean?
So it says, Sashenko fishes a cigarette from the pocket of his coat and leans forward to offer it. What's your station? Second gunner, she glances at the cigarette, a frown creasing her lips, but makes no move to take it.
Yeah, she's so young that she hasn't gone through the throes of war and he's using a cigarette to try to bond.
Okay, all right. No, I was just wondering, because to me it always feels a little bit like...
No. He's like, young lady, he's like...
What's up?
Yeah, he's like, so tell me, bro, what's your station? And she's like, that's bad for your health. It shows how green she is.
Uh-huh.
Because probably in 5 years she'll be smoking.
Somebody put that there's a part here where he then remembers that the second gunner's body after she died.
That was great.
So should it be moved earlier? Because somebody else said it should.
Oh, okay. Why? Why though?
I don't know. I think they just said it should be, but I was thinking maybe it could be put when they first show up and he has that memory.
No. That would be so abrupt.
Okay.
No, this has a transition into that moment because he's considering this young, fresh meat to the old, grinded up meat.
Okay. All right. No. Okay. That makes sense.
No, that works. This I don't like.
Grash slashes at his boots.
I don't like that. I don't like the slashes. No, it's like because slashes is. Oh, sorry. It's like you're slashing, you're cutting.
I'm stuck here. She won't let me go, guys.
No, it's like cutting. It's not cutting at their boots. I know what you're trying to do. I see it, but it doesn't like for
They're
me.
Not running. It would be more appropriate if they were running. That the grass would be slashing.
Oh, maybe whipping. Whipping would be better.
Yeah. Well, I see what you're talking about. No, that makes sense.
Because it's like a whip. Like slashing is more of like a one go. Cut. So I know you're doing like it's going like
no, I
ripping at his thighs.
Yeah, it doesn't quite make sense. Chelsea said, "See, I didn't get much personality from them in this conversation, which I understood to be the purpose. I think I wanted more physicality from them to give personality to the discussion.
Maybe
and she doesn't know about using cigarettes to bond. Yeah, that works. I think she's talking here about the earlier portion.
No, yeah, when they're talking to each other, I would agree.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think.
Yeah.
Was it clear to everyone who was reading it which girl was which? Because I'm very like.
It could be worked upon.
Okay.
It wasn't the worst, but it also is not super straight.
Okay. That was one of the big things I was worrying about was trying to figure out if it comes across.
Yeah, this is also which can be done in multiple ways.
I personally thought the dialogue could have benefited.
They all seem like the same girl, honestly.
See, that was what I was trying to do, is trying to change that.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
They don't quite. It's because Chelsea, I understand.
Not to me, but that may have been.
No, but again, it's not that bad. That's the thing. Is it's like somewhere in the middle where it's just fine, but it could be better.
The other thing is, I think it's just an early book thing. Like this is a problem I have with books, is I often can't keep.
Dude, you wrote this several years ago.
No, but I mean, just normally with characters.
Well, that would
so-
be almost like at that point, that's a second, third draft.
Yeah, not sure.
Because this is just the. I mean, honestly, for whatever.
This is like a very worked on second draft, but not a
Yeah.
final draft.
Yeah, no. Well, on your third draft, I would have expected that to happen at least. Yeah, if you had like a whole book.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how I would do it.
The problem is if you haven't gone through the whole book on your first draft, then you don't really fully recognize what your
Yes.
characters.
You don't know the shape of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some people can do it in one go. Cool for them, but that's not always like the way it works. You know, sentence. Oh, this was the sentence I had the worst trouble with.
His little sister had been no more than 3 when he left, a tottering child with a mat of black hair and dark skin and skin dark as the copper of their mothers. Oh yeah, this sentence is too long.
Yeah, it is, and it's also just super confusing. What's what?
I also think I've changed that like 6 times because I couldn't remember. Because first I was like, okay, but why would she know letters? And then I was like, letters versus writing.
You are overthinking.
And then I think his mother was dead in one version of this. Yeah, so it's a lot.
Oh, here, wait, Chelsea has a nice little thing. The physicality I'm talking about can help. The second gunner retreating from the cigarette tells me a lot about her, so some similar actions through the earlier conversation would do the same. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
It was it was a good idea to introduce them as a group. That's good technique when introducing multiple. Yeah, it's fine.
Especially
Okay.
because of the dynamic.
Here's another alliteration, mottled mushrooms.
Mottled mushrooms. Thank you.
Over a great. Okay, wait. Okay, so I get it. It's fine.
But
Why does he have a very heavy oak table in a camp? Did they bring it for him?
No, it was a
remnant?
storehouse before the war. Though you know what? Yeah, that could be changed
You
to be
need
more
to-
of a
you need to
storytelling
clarify
thing
that.
where it's like I don't know, a rickety stable that has
It
pig
should
shit
not be
still
a
on
great
it.
big oak table.
Yeah, I think I changed that from. I think it was originally like an inn.
If that were the case,
And-
then I would describe the cuts in it from previous patrons and shit like that, the stains,
Yeah,
the
no,
water
you know, you're
stains.
right, and to play more into the gritty war aspect of it.
Because the great oak table was a little too like video gamey. Like I could picture it, but it was very like, wait, how'd they get that in there?
no, that totally makes sense.
But also simultaneously, I thought to myself, well, in Game of Thrones, they had some pretty nice ass furniture in
some
their
big-
tents.
Did it seem weird that he had a saber and like a cloak?
No,
Also, Okoyevich is such a cool name. Russian people have such cool names.
I know they do. Whatever,
It's too
it's
bad.
fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, 100%. So apparently, I liked this.
Um,
It seems our glorious Tsar's glorious offense. Okay, wait a second. Glorious. But anyway, it seems our glorious Tsar's glorious offensive stalled out over the inglorious plains.
oh shit, that's a case where I wrote it twice and I forgot that I.
No. This could actually work.
You either need glorious and glorious, or you need glorious and then inglorious. But having it 3 times is too many. 2 is funny. 3
No.
is too many.
No. Wait. It seems our glorious Tsar's offensive
Right.
stalled out over. I mean, you could actually make both work if you italicized, I think, and made it so that way you're
It's
making the
clearer
readers
that
realize
I'm-
that she's being overt.
She's being funny about it.
Yeah.
By the way, what do you think? Wasn't she bitchy and hot?
No. But I knew exactly that's how you were going for
I
it.
actually, and I want to try to emphasize this in later drafts, that none of
See,
the
look,
4.
Chelsea also agrees with me. No, all 3 is great. It is. It just, I think,
Oh, okay, all right.
I think it would be fun to throw one italics in there or something like that. I mean, you don't have to, but it seems our glorious Tsar's glorious offensive stalled out over the inglorious plains.
So again, going back, one thing I wasn't able to emphasize it in this version.
See,
Now that part really for me. Okay, all right, good. Is that none of the 3 girls or Katerina are pretty by our standards?
I will die on this hill. It makes her sound super snarky and is the strongest part of her
Okay, all
personality.
right. Thank you guys.
See, look, you're fine.
All right, I'm good. Sometimes you just can't tell when you're writing stuff because you're
I
so
know.
lost in the mist.
You were saying something.
But yeah, I wanted to emphasize that none of the 3 or 4 of them are actually very pretty. Because there's this habit in books that if you don't mention things, everyone assumes they're played by Hollywood actors. And if you look at pictures of like female soldiers in World War II from Russia, like they just look lumpy and like normal farm girls. You know what I mean? It's not like they're cool snipers, so they look like a cool sniper.
No, they're beautiful, but in the way that they're supposed to be beautiful.
They look lumpy.
No,
And-
I don't interpret it the same way at all. I think they're sexier than what is traditionally considered sexy. But
She's-
you're a man and
she's
I'm
bi,
a woman.
so she's got like yeah, I'm revoking your bi card yet again. That's right. But no, I wanted to come across as like, people aren't very good. So beauty nowadays is very weird that we
Hey.
don't understand. I'm a little disappointed her name isn't Ekaterina or Ekaterina though. Okay, I actually was gonna make it Ekaterina, but I like Katerina better. I like the K version better, but I know it should be Ekaterina.
Just have him call her Cat.
Kanja, I think.
Yeah.
There's another point, and Lindbergh will get this later, where Miriam calls Titania Zaritza, when really she should call her princess, because if you've ever read Anna Karenina, the female nobility are called princess, but that sounds to a Western audience like it's Star Wars, where he's like, "Oh, princess." It sounds like a generic insult instead of the specific that it is. So you're
utilizing it for world building,
right?
yes,
But
of course.
I do know, guys.
Yeah, no, that's one thing you have to consider too. You can't. It doesn't always help to be correct.
Well, the thing is, you got to think about your audience, and in this case, my audience is a Western audience. And then actually, I don't even necessarily know what the translation in. I don't know if the literal translation is princess. I just know that that's what they kind of change it to in English versions of Anna Karenina.
Shamed, you and I are in the same place.
What'd she say?
Androgynous and masculine women are hot.
Guys, I don't mean they literally just look lumpy, some of them. It's okay. A lot of people just look like normal people.
Anyway, I put this here even though this isn't even the right place, but Will's usage for later on, because I started reading this, but I didn't continue with any commentary. No, I
did the same thing.
Yeah, actually. I ended. Yeah. So anyway, because this was a good example. Not that you should do this if you don't want those characters, but Will's usage of 3 green characters coming into this is a great way to introduce world building. It's because the main characters are going to have to / the new characters are going to have to learn from those older characters. Well, I didn't say that right, but the point is
okay. Funny version of this later. So later in the story, they're going through the firing sequence. I did that specifically because I don't want in battles later for people not to understand what the firing sequence is.
Yes.
So I can use it as a scene to characterize them. But yeah, and also I watched way too much of Fury, which is one of my favorite movies. It's about a tank. And for the longest time, I could not figure out why one of the characters was kept saying on the white. And he's not. He's saying on the way, which is what you say right before you shoot.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be able to get that forward to the reader so they can understand it in battle scenes and it's not going to be weird. And then, of course, when you're expositing, you have to do character stuff. And I actually kind of ended up liking that scene.
And Lindbergh has a good point, by the way. Without having that big cast of nobles interacting, it would come across as a derogatory.
Yeah, and it would come across as an abstract versus a specific.
Exactly. So overall, I think that was a pretty good review, honestly, of your writing in this.
Yeah, thanks. No, I mean, those are all very good points. Okay, so what did you think of Katerina as a kid?
I thought, let's see.
Just because I don't really like her.
I know you do, but I don't. I like Danielle. Okay, so let me go back real quick, because I can tell you what would make me like her, but that doesn't necessarily equate to you wanting to do that. Mm-hmm. Do you need help swaddling them?
I don't like that.
No, I don't either.
But I couldn't figure out.
It's too demeaning. It's not funny sassy. Yeah. It's not funny.
I actually had her meaner in an earlier draft, and then I was like,
you can make her
meaner.
No, but you can make her mean and funny. But this is the thing is it's just not funny.
Do you help swallow? That's like a thing people who are trying to write high fantasy say, and I don't like it, but I couldn't come up with another way of saying it. I had another version of it, but I ended up just leaving that one.
You know what you should do?
Dialogue bothers me like that.
Well, this dialogue is the weakest in my opinion, funnily enough. I'm sorry. It is.
She's hot and bitchy.
No.
She's not actually even hot.
But what I was going to say is, honestly, something to the effect, it wouldn't stay the same though, but as one idea of something that would instantly is this like really dark humor. So throwing in the idea that they're going to die soon. Like essentially the vibe of ready to say goodbye to your...
Do you need help digging their graves?
Yeah. You want me to start on the graves yet?
Yeah,
or something like that?
Graves yet. Yeah,
that would be great. It's because that is much more specific.
Like his reaction is just like, oh, it's nice to see you.
Yeah.
This is one of the parts though that was difficult because again, he's such a passive character that like, how is he going to interact with her? I don't love his banter with her.
No, I don't. That's what I'm saying though. This is actually where his passivity bothered me.
Yeah.
It's because he didn't pop out like he should have.
Well, and probably he should because he knows her from before.
He should all of a sudden come into the present and start coloring in himself. You know, like his world's black and white, and then this is a colorful moment. Yeah, one place I do think it kind of works is where he just randomly starts, where he just volunteers the information. Katerina could ask if they have the coffins ready. Also good. If he's ready to clean up the inside of the... Yeah. Another thing is that like, oh, did you guys already clean up?
Bodily functions inside of a tank can smell quite a lot. So that's another joke that she could make.
Yep.
But here where he just kind of offers information that's like very atypical for him, where he actually says something to her because she's a friend in that. Oops. a friend in that way. Yeah, I think more of that could be done. You're right.
I think you might have already done this. Did you describe how she smells to him?
No.
I would do that. I would have not like, oh, I'm like super turned on, I want to fuck you. But like,
well, he's
the comfort.
Well, and he's also used to human smells. So
no, her smell though. Her cigarette. Maybe she smokes cloves.
You're right. That's
or
true.
something like that. You should describe the type of cigarette.
Oh,
well.
Funny.
Well, anyway, maybe she hasn't had his cigarettes in a while.
Yeah, no.
So she doesn't smell like his cigarettes.
He's like, I know these cigarettes, but it smells familiar because she's around. Something like that.
Like she usually on her own will smoke cloves or something like that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's spicier scent. And so the familiar comfort, and then maybe there's even a warmth physicality to it.
I really actually should bring
there's
more
of a like
to this.
There's more of a like
camaraderie.
Raw, like this, like we smell each other's sweat, like, but her sweat is like welcoming. It's because
or
it's
like
hers.
she leans next to him and he smells a combination of cigarettes and
sweat
smell.
Yeah.
Did it come across that she was like a little bit like haggard?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, because in earlier versions she was just like hot and bitchy, and I was like,
no, she's haggard in this.
Okay, all right, cool. Let me think about what else. Okay, no, my main problem, is Sashenko is just he feels sort of hollow as a character. Yeah, I think Sashenko is the good type of passive. Passive isn't always bad when it's holding back or preparing for something else, and that's what we feel from Sashenko.
I really got a strong vibe of Sashenko observing the little lambs led us to the slaughter, but it being blasé purely because it's happening 100 times before. Yeah,
that would actually be a good thing to think about as the other ones he's mentioned something. I think also maybe him actually thinking about certain things when he's kind of zoning out.
You know what?
Because everything I mentioned is that like he likes the sun, and like that's kind of a limiting thing.
You know what you should do actually to characterize him, to make him, because he seems like an emotional character. Have him really feel like piece of shit for these girls. Like he doesn't want, like he...
Or he could start feeling that way and then shut it down.
Yeah, and then that's when he offers the cigarette. Because maybe before all he sees is his nieces, or all he sees is his younger sister.
Yeah.
And he's just like, and then he has the flashback to the popped flesh of his old gunner and all of that. And then it's like, fuck, PTSD attack. And then it's like, want a cigarette?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it goes. And that's why he needs a cigarette to low-key like calm down.
Yeah, I think that was my main problem. There's a couple of dialogue lines that I keep in, but I don't like. Like the thing with Inna and Babushka, where the two of them are bonding a little bit. Yeah. I like the idea that he's kind of subtly building her back up by saying like, hey, we're the same. We both have babushkas. Yeah. But the line doesn't actually work. Part of it is trying to find idioms from 1920. Russia in English is insanely difficult. Like in general, even finding names from then is really hard.
Fun fact, everyone, you know what you do then? Don't be authentic. Steal from other cultures.
Well, I'm trying to steal from Russian culture, but it's hard to find references from
No, you just make the shit up then from other things. It's fine. There's a whole book called Steal Like an Artist. That's wonderful. You should read it. But anyway.
What it is I get in my head about cultures when like they're supposed to be the actual culture.
Ooh.
I wanted a little guilty relief that these greenies are probably going to die before he does. That would be great.
Oh, that too. But that probably...
There's someone who wanted to pilot coming to terms with the fact he's been crippled. Do you want to know what the rest of the story I have planned for it?
Tell them.
I will tell you.
Okay, tell me.
Less weird. So basically, the idea is that...
Then we should transition because we're spending a lot of time.
Yeah, no, because we need to go to yours. I understand that you don't think mine is really funny.
You are well aware. We have spent at least an hour on this.
No, I was going to do an hour on one and an hour on the other. So my idea was that Demian dies, and then he...
I was expecting that too.
Yeah. I actually originally had him as a female character who talked the same way, which I thought was really funny.
I think that is really funny.
But if she dies, then it's frigid. Yeah, and also it's like, how many female characters am I going to have in this story?
There's nothing wrong with multiple No, but I get what you're saying.
The 3 out of the 4 main cast, and then also Katerina's going to be around again. So, and so he dies, and so the thing about it is that he can use the
So it's a harem.
Cards, but like dirty and bro. And so like he can use the piloting cords that they use, but because of his crippled arm, they aren't good. And so the story is about him kind of trying to get, he's in the position where he can now pilot the mech, but it's getting increasingly hard and he's not doing it very well. And so it's really him having to deal with the fact that like, oh, it's not even if you get a chance to do it, you could do it. The military's not holding you back. You cannot do this. And what does that mean? And I also wanted to think about the Hag House as a home. There's a line where he talks about like how the rest of the world seems kind of far away.
Yeah.
And kind of just the idea that like the Hag House represents different things to the different characters. So for Miriam, it might represent like an ability to escape her class a little bit, or it's it might represent like heroism a little bit, and realizing like it's the thing in war. We don't have control over war. This is not a war of like glory, or we're actually trying to achieve things. It's a story about just learning to be in war and keep your mind safe.
Yeah.
I actually, it's not really called She-Wolf. The internal name I had for it is riding mech back, because that's kind of how I think of it. Is they're on the mech and they're walking through the fields.
Yeah.
And like that's the story.
Yeah. One thing you can also throw in is the agoraphobia that Sashenko could probably get.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well, where it's like
everything, he doesn't like being outside of the mech. Or he likes being on the mech or in the mech, but not outside of the mech.
Not away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking something like that as well. And then yeah, so that was the story.
Oof for Demian.
I know. I actually kind of like him more.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe I'll have him injured.
Okay, what do I do? I'm going back.
Okay, so if you close that, you now need to change.
Here, I'm going to let you do it.
It's a technical matter, so it makes sense.
Son of a bitch.
Thanks everyone for reading it, by the way, and giving comments. A lot of people had really good feedback.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see. Again, writing is like walking through a fog where you just can't tell where things are around you, so you try to remember, but you can't.
I really like Chelsea's point that she just made.
So if Demian dies, that could be a really powerful juxtaposition. If Shenko is struggling with this guilt, relief, protective mix for the new girls that he's sure are going to die, and then it's Demian. Yeah, that was kind of my feeling on it too.
Nice. Also, everyone, as a premise, I'm going to feel so cringy throughout this entire process. Not because it's my writing, but because I'm so sick of seeing this story.
So actually Lindbergh had asked what drafts are of these stories these were, and so I told her mine, which again is one that's like 7 years old, but I've just updated over time.
Lindbergh?
Yeah, so this one, how many times have you gone over it?
This part right here, she left as she always did. This has been gone over 20 times at least.
Right. And
everything else, this next part maybe gone over half as much. And then everything after that's brand new. First draft, which I hate.
We'll talk about it. I don't think it's bad. Okay, you go ahead. I gotta check my phone real quick, but you go ahead.
No, it's fine. I'm also gonna premise because Will said it. I wrote this original. It's actually really funny. Actually, there is a funny story behind this. I forgot where No, you already know it. The original. I forgot how funny. It's so pathetic. So in like 2018, 2019, I was going to Dragon Con, and it was my first full weekend at a convention, and I was super stoked, and I was like, I need to take full advantage of everything. So I was going to sign up for a couple of workshops. Well, lo and behold, the internet, the website didn't actually have that updated information of who was attending. So it never got updated on the website, so I could never sign up for anything. Instead, their pamphlets for their programs that got sent out late, might I add, came through. And so I was looking through it and I was like, oh, I want to do the Jody Lynn Nye workshop. It's a really intensive writing workshop for 3 days. I really want to do that. And then I look at the deadline and it's that night. And I'm like, oh, fuck. This is like one of the only things I want to do. And so I directly emailed her immediately and I was like, so I'd really like to sign up for this. Are there any more spots left? Because there's only 25 spots. Or 20 spots, it was 20 spots. And she was like, actually, you and one other person just vied for the 20th spot, but I don't care. You can be the 21st. And so I was like, okay, cool. And she was like, do you have a piece that you want to submit? I only am taking second to third drafts right now. I'm not taking first drafts. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yes. Yeah, I have them, but they're from like college, which was not that long ago. But I was like, I want something that represents how I can write right now. And I didn't have a finished piece or anything I wanted to submit. And I was like, how mad would you be if I submit a first draft? And she's like, ah! And this is like a woman that's published like 20 books.
Just lie next time. Be like, yeah, I'll send it in.
Well, I wanted time to write it.
Oh,
so
okay.
I couldn't send it in immediately. And I was like, because the deadline was as in you were supposed to have already submitted it. And I was like, look, I got the program late, all this stuff. And anyway, so she was like, really nice, honestly. And she was like, yeah, no, it's fine. You know, I'm gonna throw throw you a bone. Mm-hmm. See how it goes. Go ahead, write a new one. Just have it in 5 days. So I had 5 days to write this.
It's quite good.
Well, no, the ending changed. I changed the ending afterwards. Not that it's done, but you know. But so I wrote it in 5 days, and on the third day, I had an emotional breakdown because I hadn't written that intensely in so long. And I went into my car because I didn't want Maria, because Maria and I lived together. I didn't want Maria to see me having a temper tantrum. So I went in my car and I literally had a temper tantrum, and she knew where I was. So she came down and saw me in my car, and she looks into the window, and I take the seatbelt and I start hanging myself from it. And I'm like, I'm a shitty writer. I can't do anything.
What was this?
I mean, this was like the second year we lived together.
I think I remember this actually from Maria's perspective.
Yeah, probably. She was like, I'm so sick of Katie because she's a good writer and she's being a piece of shit. And I was like, whatever. Anyway, so I submitted it. It went well, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that's the originations of this. Anyway, let's go into that.
Okay, so let's talk about the story first. I call this Katie's Grendel's mom story.
That's fine. That is what it is.
Because that's kind of what it is. And it is basically about a witch who haunts the woods and has some kind of monstrous son. And I think that's more or less it.
I'll tell you, do you actually want, what it's supposed to be?
Well, just enough so that they know what we're going to be talking about.
Okay, I guess. So essentially, I had a different story that has to do with this woman's actual, human son. And I wanted to do a whole play on feminine magic with a male character and all this stuff. But I didn't want to...
So he knows how to do those things where you take a shirt and tie it on the side?
What does that have anything to do with?
Feminine magic, you said. That's a feminine magic power.
You're so dumb. But of course that's there's a whole actual plot to that. There's a Dark Prince thing, a whole shebang.
Yeah, I always thought this was the prologue.
It's a small experimental fun character exploration. That's all it is. It was never supposed to actually be published or anything like that. It was just me trying to write. This lady is, you don't really need, you already know it. She's a witch. She's a Haxa. This world is a world where there's rudimentary rifles, but nothing else. It's a mix of old world Europe / fantasy world. And anyway, long story short, she has a monstrous son. That you don't need anything more than that. But yeah, it's part of a larger. The only thing I wanted to mention is this is kind of not supposed to be a story. It's just supposed to be a character study. But I also want it to be a story.
I also kind of want it to be a story. Yeah, I think it works as both.
Real feminine magic will not this bikini male is good because it distracts the enemy's feminine magic.
I didn't mean. I mean the ability to do a burnt eyeshadow. That's feminine magic. Nobody even knows how that works.
I don't know how it works.
That's what I'm saying. It's the deep lore, the deep magic.
Anyway, let's get going.
My overall impressions were a couple of things. I think overall the story has a lot of strengths. I think the biggest strength is that the witch feels really not mean, but she feels like she's not just a stand-in character.
She's feral.
She's feral and not unlikable, but feeling very elemental and feral. I think that really, really comes across in her interactions with the girl.
I tried so hard.
It's very good. Even a little bit really sets it off because it's not a character that most people have.
Yeah, as a main character.
Or even a side character. It's very not very done very much. And so I think that's one of the strongest parts of the story. I think that there were certain reoccurring issues I saw over and over again. I made a bunch of small edits just because I couldn't stop myself.
No, go. That's fine. I'll probably keep that later and then.
So the first paragraph is blood dribbled from her mouth, melting deep into the snow. She drank again from her skein and will bask in the warmth that slid down into her belly. Her hunt had proved fruitful, and the hare she'd killed would make a nice Ifleen stew. So. One thing is there's not a lot of contractions, and that to me made it feel stiff.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Yeah, that was just one thing, especially when they're talking later, it feels a little bit stiff.
Yeah.
At this part here, blood dribbled from her mouth, melting deep into the snow.
Shame, shut up. No, it did not annoy me.
It's missing.
Sorry, in the original version, the kid gets eaten, and it's really graphic. Continue.
Well, I have a different graphic ending in mind for the kid, but blood dribbled from her mouth, melting deep into the snow. It feels like we're missing a step there, for example.
Yeah.
But the imagery is really, really nice. And there's some descriptions throughout that are just the imagery just suddenly.
What do you mean a step? As in the introduction that she's drinking?
Well, how is it getting from her mouth to the snow? It feels wait, that's too big of a jump.
Oh, I get it. What I was picturing is her drinking, and she's drinking so greedily or sloppily that it's coming down her mouth into the snow.
Yeah, no, I get that, but you're missing the part where it's coming down.
Yeah.
Which is all of a sudden is in the snow. That's just kind of a thing that would be weird.
I see what you mean.
Or it doesn't make complete conceptual sense to me. I
Yeah,
suppose.
it visually doesn't help the reader figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and then just some minor verbiage.
Do you not
big.
like the word broken? Is that what that is?
Okay, so this is a good one. The sound of her voice was thick and broken like the cracking of a bark. Well, she can't break if it's then going to crack.
Then I'm going to get the cracking of bark.
The sound of her voice was thick like the crack. Her
No,
voice was her like
thick and broken.
Was like the.
I wanted to. What would be a good like? It's hoarse and cracked.
Her voice was thick and hoarse like the cracking of bark. It was hoarse like the cracking of bark. No, it's a small semantic thing. That's like it can't break if it's gonna break in a minute. But yeah, and again, that's just kind of like a minor thing.
Yeah.
Really nice tension. This part, she could not imagine beholding the sight of that creature. She could not imagine the shade of its skin, the slope of its spine, or the color of its eyes, but she wanted to. She thought of that if she hid beneath the roots of the tree here, she could stay and watch as it passed, fulfill the stifling want of seeing her son again. But she could not. She knew that his feral eyes would not recognize her. So she left, as she always did. This is such a good moment because it really makes you go like, oh, what the fuck is going on? And also, like, it gives you a sense of her character. Well, the one thing is that imagine does not feel like a fantasy word to me.
She got picture.
She could not behold. I was thinking maybe she would not let herself. She would not let her. She would not.
Oh, you wrote herself, it here. Good. Okay.
She would not let herself think of her son. She would not let herself.
Yeah. I'll get into
think of the skin slope of maybe something like that, which does change its meaning a little bit. But again, it's just picture or imagine. But I also tend to like try to go away from fantasy, like non-fantasy words a lot, and it limits my language a little bit sometimes, which is annoying. It's
hard to balance that. But also, as a side note, this scene is actually the pure inspiration for everything. Because I had a dream of literally a woman hiding beneath snowy, muddy, like, this vibe, and her hiding underneath, like, kind of like essentially like almost like a riverbed root type of thing. Like,
Lindbergh says, I love the imagery of her hiding beneath the roots of the tree.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it comes across really, really clearly.
Well, that's because I fucking had a dream about it. And then the dream of like the big sun walking through. And that was the only part of the dream that existed. That's not true. I also had the weird young boy that wanted to fuck his mother. That's in the main storyline. That's not his mother.
That. Yeah, the villain.
Yeah.
The villain, for the record, guys. Oh, okay. So chunks of ice swirled violently in eddies, leaving debris from a fallen.
Swirled in violent.
I see. This is a thing where it's like every once in a while there are adverbs or adjectives. I don't know which of the two it is because I'm a heathen. That show up that could just be cut or turned into.
No, I see what the difference is.
Yeah, no. So like that's just the thing that comes up every now and again. Again, it comes across as like super talented, but like a little unpolished.
Yeah,
no, just a little unpolished. Like just go in and tighten up the language a little bit. There's a lot of, or not a lot. There are some. Let me see if I can find it.
Lindbergh, you're stroking my ego. It's because that's literally what I live for. But the problem is like you guys are saying, like Will's saying, I try to experiment with new pictures, but it doesn't always work, as you see. I just get so sick and tired of hearing my own voice, so I try to change the way my voice sounds.
One of the reasons I always stop writing is because I get really tired of the fact that I constantly use the same words.
I can't stand hearing my own voice in my writing.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Okay, here it is. Sometimes there's like, I call them gristle words. I don't know what they're actually called. The series says the blood looked thick, no longer dripping, but her tears were fresh as she hiccuped through a series of sobs. She could not have been more than 8. You don't need that word. As she hiccuped a series of sobs.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
So every once in a while, there are like little words like that.
Yeah.
That can just be cut.
I like gristle. I like gristle as it.
Yeah, that's what I think of them as. Okay, another thing that comes up a couple times is filtering, which is like a known. She looked, she saw, she heard, whatever. Mm-hmm. So the blood looked thick. The blood can just be thick.
Yeah, the blood was thick, no longer dripping. You know what's funny is when we were going over Savior's Champion and we were looking through that, I was like, oh, I do that.
Yeah, it's again a extremely talented writing with like just a little bit of editing needed. That's why our powers combined were unstoppable.
Captain Planet.
Yeah, exactly. Not here beneath the trees. That's such a good line.
Really? You like it? I thought it was over dramatic.
God, the hunter muttered, not here beneath the trees. But I love those like wham lines.
Well, this whole interaction was really difficult to show. It's changed several times. The man originally was young, 18. Then he became too old.
I actually think you should cut this in.
Yeah, it's not worth anything.
Right. The thing is that the main interaction she has in the story is with the little girl.
I know, but I'd still keep it. I'm pulling a Sophia. Sophia, if you ever watch this, you haven't been watching our videos lately, you said, you freaking heathen. But understandably. I might put it someplace else.
If you're going to keep it, you should move it right.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, she's doing the little girl, the A-B plot line kind of a thing.
I think I put it in originally. It's because I was going to have him, like the very, very original, he was going to come in more. But but then I was like, yeah, I don't want him. And then also I wanted the chase of her son chasing her.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. I was thinking what could happen is you could have the hunters kind of force the little girl to find her in the woods. So the little girl is there for the confrontation at the end, and that's the way of tying in those two plot lines together.
No, you know what I mean, there's like a million different things. Like, it just always consistently changes. Like, I don't have an ending for this story. Originally, the little girl was legit, like, snacked upon. No, it would actually make more sense if, like, the little girl somehow ended up bonding with her at some point a little bit, and she knew where her home was, and then it led up to the scene where, like, that's later on, where, like, her home gets burned down and stuff like that, and then it ending on that burning house scene and all that shit, and then, like, that would be like, oh, that's how she ended up leaving the woods, and she ended up in a seaside town where she had sex with a really sweet fisherman and had a normal son
for a bit. Yeah, the actual story is really interesting.
Sad.
It's interesting. I really like the thematic.
It's all about hating your mom.
I wonder why you would write about that.
It's all about idolizing your mother and then realizing how flawed she is.
It's about different reactions to that, because you have three sons with three different relationships, and so there's contrasts. Yeah, no, I know. We've talked about this like when we first met.
I know.
It's a great idea for a story. I'm so irritated you're not actually writing it.
Oh, whatever. Someday, maybe.
She told him hollowly. I don't know what that looks like.
I know. It's a cliche word, too.
Well, and also it's abstract, which happens every once in a while. We love feral mommy issue stories.
I know. How can you not?
Oh, Limbrick said, I thought we might head towards the situation.
That's where it is going.
The mother
in the
protects
end.
the little girl from the son.
I
think that would be kind of interesting
because
as well.
In the very, very ending plot arc in my little headcanon, her vaguely human son ends up going and bonding with this son who wants to kill his mother. And his mother, like, I don't know if you've noticed, but the mother here, Anna,
the witch,
she does not think her son's intelligent, but he is. Fun fact. Stay the fuck away or you're going to get eaten. It would be a nice turnaround to see. Yeah, it's supposed to go that way because it's supposed to be a turning point where she lets go of her love for her son completely and thinks he's just totally a monster rather than just 95% a monster. Mm-hmm. But he's actually not. He actually can speak. And there's like intelligence and that comes up later. And it's like this whole.
Yeah, so you can't really.
So it's almost a stand in for like, it's supposed to be a stand in, but not a stand in for like some type of lack of like, I don't want to say autism because it's not. No, it's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be a lack of understanding between generations.
Oh, interesting. And just different ways of thinking.
Yeah. So it's not, like I said, it's not that. It's just, you can almost say it's like a generational
it's similar in terms of the kind of reactions you get.
Comment on the Halloween. Yeah, exactly. Wait, ly words are a crutch. If you remove the ly, you can find a way to describe things in a clear. I think
adverbs are adjectives.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, ly are adverbs.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know. I think adverbs are important, but yes, you're right.
So the thing is, sometimes in English there isn't. So said quietly versus whispered are actually
I like this
two
better.
different things. Oh yeah. So that was one thing is that I felt
like
this
that
might
more.
be
I don't like this line.
I like the flesh of men, the taste. I like the taste is bland and wanting.
Yeah, but I don't like the first part.
Yeah, so I think why would I? The taste is bland and wanting works a little bit better.
Or I could just legit delete the entire first part and just say the taste is bland and wanting, right? Or is that too?
Do you two? I think you need something to.
I like the why would I? Because it's like I'm not a heathen, but then also she's like it's gross.
It's gross. Why would I if it's gross? Yeah, I think in general the part with the man felt. It introduces the same feralness as with the girl, but with the girl, it feels more organic and more like you're kind of discovering it versus the author telling you. Yeah, because it's like subtle. You think she's going into this one way, and then she's like kind of weird with the girl, and like you're like, oh wow, this is not the character I just assumed. Like you're intrigued by it, whereas here you're kind of told about it, or it's like announced.
I understand
a little bit. I think
so. This should really come after that scene if I'm going to use it.
Yeah, no, and again, then you get the kind of A/B of like. There's the kid, there's the hunter, there's the kid again, kid, and then hunter again in terms of the scene.
I actually was picturing in an ideal world where I actually did something with this, that's something to that balance, because just mentioning it once isn't worth anything.
Yeah. Sometimes there's somewhat abstract mannerism.
I know.
Yeah, those were mostly it's like little style things that I think could be tightened up to be again just a little bit tighter, a little bit more solid. It's very good though. I liked the ending with the hunters finding her, and then the stuff with her son. I think is really cool.
I have rewritten that a million times because I don't know what it feels like to get shot. And I want it to be as coarse and crude. So I literally asked one, I was like, have you been shot before? And he's like, no, but I've had buddies that have been shot before. And because he's been shot with like, body armor.
He was in the military, not the mafia.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Cause the mafia was the go-to.
Well, that's what people were thinking in the comments. I could tell.
But anyway, he was like, no, but I've had buddies that were shot. And he says it feels like burning, like a pinch. Like, and so I'm like, but that's like with newer guns. What about with old style rifles? And he's like, well, that would blow you open. Yeah. And so that's why I went with like, it was a punch in her gut. That come across as
that came across. That was good. That was good. The one thing is that, I thought the part with her when she gets shot, there's a bit of she stops thinking. Yeah. I think it would be cool if she was like, actually kind of dead but still aware of what's going on before she then comes back.
It's not a fully realized scene, as you know.
Right, and then it also ends a little. But yeah, I thought something like that might be kind of cool.
Everyone, I submitted this to the MFA program at USF, and they were like, please resubmit with a nonfiction piece. That didn't say that, but they were like, yeah, it's because they're fucking what's the word?
Snooty?
Snobs. They're snobs. And I knew that, everyone. If you ever decide that, if you haven't already, and maybe you already have an MFA and you've experienced otherwise, but in my experience, MFAs are snobs. They're all snobs. They want magical realism in nonfiction or like fiction, but not in a fantasy
But what
world.
about if it was an angsty late 20s man?
No, 100%. I would have gotten taken in. Yeah, MFA programs are assholes. Yeah, I was like, because I knew if I submitted the story that actually I really should have submitted, I knew I probably most likely would at least have a much higher chance of getting. But I was like, fuck those people. I want to submit this story that's fantasy. And they were like, you're really, essentially very politely, they're like, it's very good writing, but we don't want it.
No, it's because genre fiction is like lower class. Okay, did you have any questions for me about the story?
I did. What do you think's the strongest part?
The interactions with the girls, with the girl.
Is just period the strongest parts?
Yeah, I think those are the
But not any one.
I can't think of any one in specific, but the two or three that she has, I think are really strong. Because again, I think they kind of, you expect the characters to like little kids, and then when she's kind of like not, it's kind of fun. And the little girl herself is kind of snooty. But you don't dislike her for being like kind of sterile back to the girl. Yeah. Which is not something you usually see. What did Ruth said?
Oh, he said something I also feel.
I think she, but yeah.
Oh, she, sorry. If I may be picky, perhaps we could make the sentence where she's shot more immediate and sense of floating and drifting after. I know. I thought of that as well, so thank you for like thinking that. I always have an issue with the internal moment versus the external moment in those parts where the action's happening. I am really curious, though. I'd really love for our chat to tell me what they think is the strongest moments too, if they agree with you.
Yeah, no, definitely. That'd be good. You guys can also do it in the Discord if you're watching this later.
That too. Because I would like to know what worked best and what didn't work. It's because I wonder if it aligns with what I think works best and what doesn't.
One thing I think you could expand on, and you would just have to do that by this piece being longer, you can't do it here, is her relationship with her son. Like more.
It's supposed to get into it later, but I just never did it.
Just never wrote it. Yeah, no, again, that's, I think, an interesting thing to go into.
Because the whole point is I want her to treat him like he's unintelligent, like a creature.
A beast.
But I have to be able to accomplish subtly creating moments where you, the reader, know he's not, but she still thinks he is, so she becomes a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting disconnect. And I think you've started on that by having her have such a distinct viewpoint that you know immediately it's not your default viewpoint as a modern person. And so I think that kind of already the groundwork is set up there.
Yeah. She's supposed to be an abusive mother.
Oh, interesting.
She's supposed to be an emotionally abusive mother. Oh, in the end. It's because in the end she leaves all of her sons. And the only one she doesn't leave is the one that's equally abusive back to her. In the same way.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's supposed to be a feed loop. And in the end, they both kind of destroy each other.
Dysfunction.
Yeah.
As Kirk Honda would say.
Yeah. Oh, if you haven't watched Dr. Kirk Honda on YouTube and you need therapy, that's a lot of really good free therapy.
A lot of free, interesting ideas.
So I wanted just something that pulled it. Yeah.
So Chelsea says, I was going to say that I wanted a little more tangible plot.
Of course.
Like there's a progression of events, but it feels to me a bit more like
dreamy.
a collection of loosely related stories rather than one story.
It's very dreamy.
That pulled the tangle. Yeah. No, I think the girl plot line really helps. I think, again, if you have the girl and then, I don't know, again, I think you could almost just cut the hunter part.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to keep the hunter part and then at the end. And then I think also by not having a second half, it feels a little bit disjointed.
Well, of course.
Yeah. So,
like, yeah. I don't know what I want from this. I'm just trying to figure out her character. It's because these characters are so big. They're such big stand-ins for my personal experience that I'm trying to capture the complexity of real experience.
Her mom only ate raw meat. That's where that comes from.
No.
That's why you wrote that in the story. Is your mom only ate raw meat? She was like the liver king of South Florida.
No, she was not the liver king of South Florida. Having a loving but abusive mother is such a difficult thing to capture, I think. There's got to be a lot of gaslighting, but you can't be gaslighty, otherwise it's too obvious, and you can't love the character.
I think there's a lot of small interactions that can clue people in.
Oh, 100%.
Those are hard to
cultivate.
Up with, and yeah. It is definitely, it's very tricky. It's a tricky dynamic, but I think it's also a really interesting one. It's, it's something I've always really wanted more from the books we've read, are relationships that are kind of more nuanced. I wouldn't say grayish, but nuanced than the ones that there are.
Lindbergh has some pretty nice stuff.
Lindbergh says, you go ahead and click on them.
Oh, okay. It's a sequence. I really got the sense that she thought he is a mindless beast because she drops everything and runs from him. Thank you. I was hoping that was a good choice. At the point of this text, it feels like there's no question about his intelligence in her mind. I personally like the character study vibe. That's why I'm on the train of highlighting the similarities, contrast between how the mother treats the girl versus, it's supposed to be that in the end. But funnily enough, I've rewritten. So I've attempted to start the main story 5 times. I have 5 drafts. And they all begin completely differently from each other. One's on a beach, and
You showed me one where he's like spitting magic rhymes.
No, he's not.
I mean, he's doing
Is it the one where he's like swimming deep into the ocean?
I think you actually sent me several, and that's one of them.
Yeah, that one's the strongest in my opinion.
Yeah, that one's really good.
There's one of him already out fishing with his father. There's one of him in the tide pools considering his mother, which that's the weakest.
That one I think you sent me too.
That's the weakest. Then there's one of him being bullied by kids.
That's the one I said when he's gonna like
I hate
magic
that one.
bars at him.
I hate that one. It's because the
guys, it was really pretty. I gotta tell you, it was a really nice. The pros on that were extremely nice.
Thank you. But I didn't like it because I felt like it was like cheesy because he was being bullied, I guess.
I don't know. Your writing feels so elemental that I don't know that cheesy would ever quite fit.
The thing is like I didn't know what type of feminine magic I wanted to have happen because what is feminine magic? It's black magic. What is black magic? It's the spoken word rather than the physical magic like European, Western or Eastern European magic.
Yeah, the magic of the world.
It's more like background magic, kind of like Holy Black magic, where it's like the egg represents the thing and has magic in it.
Yeah, like a soft magic system.
Yeah, there you go. Soft versus hard magic. So I wanted soft magic. So his soft magic, I tentatively planned to be what he speaks comes true.
Yeah, no, I remember reading that. It was very interesting because it was like, again, almost like the Michelangelo, there's an inherent shape and thing that I am bringing out.
Yeah.
So much a thing I am making.
Yes, that. He brings what he already knows to be true, but speaks if he chooses to, the worst of it, and then the worst can happen.
Yeah. Just bringing it out. Yeah, no, it was a very interesting story. Maybe one day you guys will read it.
I think it might be interesting to see the witch actually watch her monster son for a short time until the end. We only see her hear him and leave before he arrives. That's fair. Maybe she's trying to decide if he can be tamed. That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
For a short period of time. I could see how if the little girl came into play and if she tried to connect with him in that moment, but then like dashed against it. But it would be really interesting if I could somehow capture the idea that he is not a monster. He does not consume this little girl. And maybe even some of the things, I don't know. The thing is he's supposed to be vindictive and angry. So I need to somehow get to the point where he does something that's humanizing, but the mom doesn't realize it.
It could be interesting also going back to the idea that like she remembers trying to tame him when he was smaller and like it just did not work.
That would be, I just don't like flashbacks.
You don't have to do it as flashbacks. You can do it as like
She thought of the time where something.
Well, she thought at the time, or she knew better than to try and
this thing again.
speak to him, or that kind of just kind of imply that like, oh no, she like smacked his nose with a newspaper kind of
or
like thing.
It doesn't have to be an active flashback. It could literally be a jump and then be like, there was a time, like I'm just pulling this out of my ass, but there was a time where she sat with him and read letters and something, something, something. You know what I mean?
You could also do a dialogue with the girl. Like the girl has a dog and she's like, oh, you should do this or that to it. And then she's like, oh, but that doesn't always work in her head type of thing. Could be that.
The only thing is I wonder if they'd have the luxury of having dogs. Because their cattle's being stolen.
I mean, it also could be like a hamster, like you know what I mean.
They're not gonna have hamsters. Maybe a mouse,
squirrel,
a rat,
a rat, something like that. Yeah, or a cat, or just like something like that. All right, thanks guys for watching this with us. Again, we're starting a new Patreon tier, our parasocial. Well, if the tier exists, but we're going to be adding it to that one, and we will be going over critiquing writing once a month. It'll be a live stream like this. Join us there. We'll probably start that up after this. It'll be the first Saturday of next month. I think probably what we'll do is it's non-binding, but we'll put up a poll of what you guys would like us to look at. So it could be more of our writing. It could be the Savior's Sister, I think will be one of the options. And then also you can just suggest things in the Discord or in the Patreon. And then also, we both offer critique services. Mine through the Patreon, and Katie's through her website, Omega Reading with Katie.
It is not Omega Reading.
Alpha and Omega Reading with Katie.
It is not. Okay, so if you do, I mean, you can just reach out to me on Discord, honestly. Thank you, Jennifer. Everyone's so nice.
Katie's critiques are amazing, by the way. I love your feedback. Yeah.
See,
yeah.
Shut up, William.
Okay. All right. We will talk to you guys later, our parasocial darlings. Go ahead and sign us out.
Later.